And
Yeah.
so you guys saw, what'd you guys think of the presentation?
Loved it.
Personally, I only saw about the first half of it. I intend to watch the rest of it while I wrap Christmas gifts. That'll be perfect. Suicide with Christmas gifts. But I loved it. And,
Nice.
what you said about brain damage, I mean, I also have brain damage, as you know, and I appreciate when people talk about the realities of it.
It's no joke, man. No joke. Well, I
And
mean,
it's an injury just don't recover from.
no, no, and like one of the hardest things I had to deal with was coming to the realization that the thinking meat that made me who I was is no longer the same. Because when it healed, oh, actually, it never really heals. It just repaired itself, and then you adjust to it. It took
Yeah.
a lot of decompression and reprogramming to be able to deal with it. Fucking sucked, man.
Well, I know precisely what you went through on that. Well, not you specifically, but I went through a lot of the same thing. But you got yours because of war. I got myself because I had a faulty office chair at work. But, brain damage is brain damage.
It's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. All right. So how
Well,
how was how was the whole thing working out here with
well,
you know
we're
how,
going to ask you questions that people come in with, and you just answer them. So Vernon's going to start with the first question.
all
Yep.
right.
Yeah, we got a question from Don. T-Pop, glad you're still good. What's the next strategy where we win?
Well, unfortunately, to undo the past 50 years of crazy horseshit that happened, it's probably going to take a major event to basically get people to snap out of it, and that may entail, you know, a situation where the United States starts to go down the road of Venezuela, and a lot of people realize, well, wait a minute, you know, uh, this whole I am woman, hear me roar thing isn't working out so well. Yeah, either that or, you know, the marriage rates go to zero. I mean, they're pretty close to it now. I mean, 6.5 out of 1,000 are getting married. I mean, if they aren't freaking out over that number, it might have to wait until it goes to fucking zero or negative numbers before they wake up and say, hey, wait a minute, this is a bad thing.
Well, in Germany and Japan, they're facing basic extinction because their marriage rates are so low. The children rate is so low, and
Mm-hmm.
America is soon to follow.
Well, actually, we are already we are not at replacement numbers, and we haven't been in quite some time. That's just it. And
So,
then, yeah, what were
so
you
a
saying?
question in the chat is, what's the best way to get that video? Would you consider it like putting it on DVD or something and selling it? Because that was a good.
Uh, well, yeah, I think you can watch it for free if you go to redonkulous.com, and it's like on the first page. I got a couple videos in there, like the long game. I have another suicide video. I got a video on PTSD, a video called The Lens of Depression. I mean, I touch on a lot of these, um, a lot of the stuff that plagues the Western world, and I do it and I add a little comedic spin to it, so it's easier to digest and accept, because people can accept a lot of bad news if they're laughing while they're digesting it.
Yeah, that's what I both love and hate about you is that you're a giant goofball, but if I'm not careful, you're going to make me think really deeply. I'm like, how can I be laughing and thinking deeply at the same time? Only you can do that.
That's one of the main reasons why I do it. I mean, I'm trying to keep people from committing a suicide, and I mean, to date, I'm up to 402 people that have actually come forward and either sent us an email or comments stating, hey, your comedy or your show has helped me from, kept the gun out of my mouth, you know.
Well, I will say that because of my disability and my whole life being ruined, I faced suicide.
Yeah.
I wish I could credit you as getting me out of it, but I managed to pull myself out of rock bottom, and here I am now helping host ICMI, which is a dream come true for me.
That's
But
good.
every single day, it's just a challenge. But I do appreciate that you're out there, so you can give me half credit.
Okay.
5.
All right. Cool. Cool.
All right, Don has another question actually. Negative replacement numbers won't kill us for a while. What do we have to do to come back before no return? I think I phrased that right.
Well, see, the point of no return is actually a lot closer than people think, simply because we have a lot of people who are going to be who are retired, who are going to retire, who are not working, and we set up a system so the working people can provide the finances to fund the Social Security to make sure the older people have medical and food and all that. Well, if you don't have those people working in the middle supporting the whole thing, it's going to come down. And that's really not that far off, to be honest with you.
So we have a humorous question from Dean Hedges. He asks, "What happened to that Craigslist lady? Did you ever hear back?"
What? Okay, well, that used to be one of my hobbies. Is I used to get on Craigslist and look for, they used to have the personals, women looking for men, and I would go through the ones in LA and New York City, and then some of them were just insane. They would have these like 3-paragraph long criteria of everything they wanted in a man. And I would respond to them like, "You're on fucking Craigslist. This is the bottom of the barrel. And you're being picky here? Get the hell out of here." And they used to like freak the fuck out when you just tell them the truth. Like, you're 40, you're on Craigslist, you got a couple kids, you're divorced, men are not going to beat down the door to get to you, and they don't give a shit about your laundry list or criteria now. As far as they're concerned, you can pound that right up your ass and you can starve and die in isolation. Didn't go over well. I didn't care. It was kind of cathartic for me, but they got rid of the the Craigslist personals, so I had to stop that. So what are you gonna do?
So, here's one of my own questions. What literature or media inspires you in the present day, if at all? Any favorites? Anything neat in that you're watching right now or reading?
Well, I'm waiting for the second season of The Witcher to come out. Let's see. To be honest with you, the way Hollywood is, there really isn't much out there that's doing it for me anymore.
There's not a whole lot for me either. Like, I thought Sonic the Hedgehog was pretty good, but aside from that, I have not really. I don't care about. I'm not excited about anything out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
They ruined Star Wars. All of the good franchises that have been out, they've literally like shit the bed and wiped their ass their sheets on the way out the door.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars was the biggest layup that you could ever ask for. Granted, they paid $4 billion for the franchise. In my opinion, they could have sold it for $5 billion if they didn't kill Boba Fett, early on. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, the last 3 movies in the Star Wars franchise were basically a repackaged plot of the very first movie. It was a bunch of woke horse shit. There was no character development, and as far as I'm concerned, they could fuck off. Anything that I even get a whiff of any woke bullshit, I'm not going to watch it.
Right.
Well, that was one of the challenges I had with The Wickers. It felt like woke bullshit, and everyone says it's great. I'm going to try to watch it again for season 2, but it's called The Witcher. And yet we're not really focusing too much on The Witcher. Why do I care about this stupid woman and her, she's ugly phase? I came to watch the guy.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, like I write fantasy novels, well, they're not fantasy novels. They're just fiction novels about a psychic who hunts serial killers. And it's all men, no women. It's, he investigates, he plans, he executes, he cleans the scene, and it's just rinse and repeat. And I had an individual contact me on my cell phone from a California number. I assume it's the screenwriter wanting to buy the rights to the books for like 20 grand. I told him to go fuck off. I'm not doing that because I'm not writing these novels so you can add in LGBT, whatever the fuck you want to call it, or any other crazy horse shit. I'm not doing it. So if they have to keep recycling all old plots and keep doing the woke shit till they go bankrupt, so be it. They're not getting my ideas. No, sorry.
Well, I've had the privilege of reading your first book, and yeah, I'm glad you're not going to let Hollywood cannibalize it.
No, I'm not doing that. And then if anything like that was to happen, they have to pay me a lot of money, and then allow me to keep creative control over the story. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that's the least you can do. All right, so Mouse Utopia Dystopia asks, would you agree that much of the modern social disorder is caused by a fempocalypse? He has that in quotes. If so, then beyond what is described in your speech, in what other ways does the fempocalypse cause male misery? What are likely ways that the fempocalypse will end?
Well, first of all, you got between 70 and 90% of divorces are filed by women. I'm going to go with 80% because I've seen different studies and stuff. So I just go middle of the road. 80% filed by women. Most of the time, the dude is caught completely by surprise. 85% of the time, the woman gets custody of the children. Now, what they don't talk about here, of the 15% of the time where the man does get custody of his kids, 7 to 8% of the time it's uncontested. That means the mother doesn't even show up. So if you back that out of that percentage, a man wins custody of his kids between 4 and 7% of the time. So you have women raising all of these children, and then there's no men in their lives, and these kids go to school, and a large majority of the teachers they deal with are women. So these young men are reaching the age of 18, getting their manhood by shameful default, have no input by any men whatsoever. And it literally clusterfucks their lives for years, if not the rest of their life. Like I myself did not wake up until I got divorced and I got royally, slam fucked in divorce court before I'm like, wait a minute. And then I realized everything that I'd been taught, everything I was shown, all of the lessons and all of the bullshit is a complete lie. All right. And now, because there isn't enough masculinity, they're calling the little bit that's out there toxic. There is no such thing. There's evil assholes out there, just like there's evil asshole chicks. I mean, you can't do nothing. Evil's never going to go away. Assholes aren't going to go away. I mean, I am a blue ribbon asshole, and I'm cool with it. So I really don't know how we're going to get to the bottom of this. I mean, you can I'm already hearing the rumblings of women bitching about not being able to find men to marry because they got to marry up, and there aren't enough men getting college educations. In fact, a lot of men are going MGTOW red pill and saying, why the fuck am I going to work myself to death for this horse shit? And I don't blame them.
Well, first off, I want to say you're a platinum asshole. So, but to add to that, because again, children are missing out on masculinity. I have a quote here from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in 2015, and it says, of children with non-resident fathers, only 17% see their fathers at least once a week, and the other 83% see them less than weekly. Of that 83%, at least 40% of those children have not seen their fathers at all during the previous years.
Yep.
So it's not just women get awarded custody, it's also that children get denied access to see their father at all.
Well, and one of the main reasons for this is the court system turns men into indentured servitude. They're basically servants and slaves. Okay, when you're losing half of your basically it takes all of your disposable income away. You can't afford to live. Time equals money. There's only 24 hours in a day, 365 days a year, and you might get 1.5 on a leap year or something like that. But there's just no time for these guys to actually, after they get divorced, they get hit with all of this egregious fucking, medical bills, medical insurance, child support, alimony, what have you. These dudes got to work 2-3 jobs, and there's just no time. I mean, kids go to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at the latest, and get up at like 7 in the morning to go to school. I mean, you just don't have time. I mean, it's just basic time economics. And here's another thing too, is like I sat in on hundreds of days of divorce court antics just so I could see the game. And there's a lot of women that go into court and they're bitching about child support, and then right behind that they bitch about the fact that the father doesn't hang around their kids, doesn't hit their, they just doesn't come around. And they usually start bitching about that after the father's been absent for 5 years, and basically these women fight tooth and nail to excommunicate the father out of the system, out of the whole equation, except for the money. And then 5 years later, they're bitching about it when, their male sons no longer listen to them because the kids now, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. Most kids, I mean, when I was 12, 13 years old, I didn't listen to my mother at all. She scared me not even a little bit. Sorry.
So I got another question for you. It's a bit of a simple one. What do you do to unwind?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I drink. I drink and I'll play some War Thunder, and that's about it. I write. I like to write when I get all like stressed out. But I noticed like when I went to Iraq and all like that year and get wounded and having to deal with literally you're in combat and we're getting mortared 2 to 5 times a day, like you're literally in combat. And it just killed something within me. I haven't been able to reawaken it. Like I used to be a big video game guy, and like I play War Thunder, and I got all the Xboxes. I got rooms, whole like shelves full of games. I just can't get back into it.
I kind of know how you feel on that one. I used to be a gamer before my disability, and I try to get back into it, but it just overwhelms me mentally. And it's basically the equivalent of drinking for me. Like I play an hour of video games and I sleep like I'm hungover. I'll sleep for like 12 hours. So
yeah, I had the same problem in the beginning as well. The minute I actually had to have my doctors tell me to lay off trying to self-heal and self-rehabilitate myself, because I was literally working myself into absolute exhaustion every single day, trying to fix it, and it just takes time. That's all I can say is like, well, when it's going to get fixed? It's a brain thing. We don't know. That's really frustrating, but that's the truth of the situation.
Well, the challenge that I had with it is I couldn't get a doctor to take me seriously. And of course, you were probably through the military, so maybe you had a little bit easier time than I did, but no doctor wanted to take my condition seriously at all. They kept telling me that it'll fix itself, go back to work. And of course, I couldn't do my job anymore. And I've had like 6 different neurologists tell me 6 different things. I've had neuropsychologists say there's absolutely nothing wrong with me, even though their tests were designed to determine if I was faking or not.
Yep.
And it's just, and I've also read that women, when they go see doctors, are more likely to get prescribed medication than men are.
That's actually correct. In fact, one of the stats that's floating around out there that I'm sure is, worse than it is now because it's a 13-year-old stat. But 13 years ago, 1 in 4 women was taking a head med. I think it's 1 in 3 now, but I'm not a doctor. I haven't seen those studies. That's just my ESP, my gut telling me that it's just going to get worse.
There's a comment from Douglas Wallace in the chat. It's interesting that the terrible teens talk about children tends to come from women, not men. Fathers manage teens with relative ease.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And like when I was a teenager, I was a raging asshole. My mother could not control me. She was at work most of the time. So you had this young guy who had, very high IQ with no supervision. And I just got in trouble all the time. And it was a lot of fun until it wasn't.
Well, personal question, did you not have a father figure growing up?
No, I didn't. My
Oh.
father left when I was like 4. I talked to him 3 times on the phone my entire life. And then he broke his hip when I was 39, 40, and he died of a heart attack from a blood clot. So I never saw him again after that, after I was 4. So it's not really a big deal. I mean, it is what it is.
Okay, so this will probably be our last question for the night, and this comes from Carl Palmer. Thanks for everything you and Blake do. With Cliff, do you recommend people start with a C and move to the F, or do it all at the same time?
Well, you might want to just do it all at the same time and then see what's up. So how many people actually watched the presentation? Can you tell?
Not at this time.
Okay,
But
cool.
looks like we got one person who raised their hands. Tyler Blevins watched it. I know a couple of people have said they have.
Yep. Yeah, we got some hand raises right now.
Yeah, because I did that. I got invited to talk at the CME with Donovan Sharp, and everyone was all upset because I was talking at Donovan Sharp's thing, majigger. And I'm just talking about male suicide, what's causing it, and then I gave a little a mental tricks you could do to try to save yourself from falling into the quagmire of hopelessness. I can't believe people were all upset the fact that I was just trying to save people's lives. Normally if I get an opportunity to speak, I will do it. It doesn't matter really where it is. I mean, I probably wouldn't talk at a devil worshiper conference. Probably would take a pass on that. But other than that, maybe I wouldn't do it at a porn convention either. That's just not my thing. But
Well, like I said, I only got about halfway through it. I do intend to I'm going to watch the rest of it probably tonight. I did enjoy what you had to say. I love your humor. I laugh hysterically when you said, well, that 0.1 is probably someone who lost a leg or something. That just caught me off guard, and I was just laughing. But I mean, I love your humor. It's dark, but like you said, it's one of the best ways just to deal with stuff on a day-to-day basis is just to be able to laugh about it.
And here's something that a lot of people don't understand, especially veterans. For you to do any time in the military, you deal with a lot of boredom, a lot of insanity, an exceptional amount of stupidity. And if you don't develop a sense of humor, you'll go crazy. And a lot of these guys, as soon as they get out of the service, they forget that sense of humor. And then the pressures of adulting crushes them, and they wind up, starting a shotgun. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm reminded of a quote from the MASH show. If you don't go crazy every once in a while, you all go crazy.
Yeah. That's pretty much how it goes. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was starving, and we would make jokes and it would feel better. Freezing, like literally on the verge of hypothermia. And I was with like a squad of guys, 13 other dudes, all hysterically laughing our asses off while we're like slowly freezing to death just to make it manageable. Same thing when you're like getting mobbed with, mosquitoes and you got to drink shitty ass water and eat spoiled food and you just make jokes and it just becomes a little more bearable.
Unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to call it quits. I wish we had a lot more time, but we got Jerome T. Luxing. He was the guy who created the first International Men's Day for November 19th
All right.
back in 1999. So he is definitely worth listening to. He is who we have to thank for our modern holiday today. So definitely check that out. Terrence, I love talking to you. You're always a lot of great fun. Hope that we can talk some more in the near future.
No
What
problem.
are some best way people reach out to you, or not reach out, but find your stuff?
You just go on to YouTube, do a search for Terrence Popp, or you get on Google, do a search for redonkulous.com. And I have my videos are on, I think, 8 or 9 different alt tech platforms. I'm on YouTube. I'm probably going to start my own streaming service. I'm working on doing a webinar that I'm going to be developing and selling here in the next few months called Administrative Violence, Divorce, and Custody Edition, where I'm literally going to train people how to fight dirty using the system. Nothing illegal. Some of it's unethical, but if you're not an attorney where you can get punished for doing unethical shit, it doesn't matter.
Well, definitely send me anything that you're doing because I like to keep updated on that and see if I can use any of it for my research. But as I always want to say to you, winning. And you have a good night. And thank you, everyone who attended.
No problem. Take it easy.
It was great to meet you, Terrence.
No problem.